I will be back in a second here. Let's see if this works. What is up, good people? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy. That's my tag team partner, Mr. Drew Ward, at DetroitDave7 on Twitter. Follow me at SomervilleCLE. We're going to back the camera out here a little bit so you can see our faces a little better over the banner. What is up, everybody? We got a matinee edition of the show today, going on a little early. So that way, you know, if you just finished supper and you're about to watch your stories, you can watch us first. Drew, how you doing tonight?
I'm happy that you mentioned the word supper. I thought I was the only person that used the phrase supper. So now I'm even in a better mood, but I'm in a great mood, man. It's a good day. I'm happy to talk some football here with you, my friend.
Yes. I only use supper usually when I'm talking about old people, but I throw out supper every now and then.
I tell my kids, are you ready for supper and stuff?
I mean, as long as they're eating, that's all that really matters. But we're going on here 6:30. Drew's got a golf show tonight, so make sure you catch Drew at DetroitDave7. You can catch him talking golf. And it's a big day for him because this is like Christmas. Like, most people wake up Christmas Day, they're all excited to open presents. Drew wakes up the first day of Masters. He's up at like 5 a.m. in his jammies, ready to roll. He's like, golf is coming on. I'm so excited. He's got his onesie on. He runs to the TV, turns it on, and just stares at the grass for like 3 hours before it even starts. How is Masters coverage today, bro?
I do have to air a grievance here. You know, the Masters.com and the Masters app's a wonderful place, and you can watch a lot of good golf. But the fact that the coverage doesn't come on TV till 3 o'clock in the afternoon is an absolute disaster. And some people just want to be able to click on their TV and watch the Masters. Every other major, you have all this coverage, but the Masters kind of sucks outside. I mean, the app is the best app there's out there. But again, I had laptops with HDMIs running to TVs today. It's all kinds of craziness. So I do dislike that, but outside of that, I mean, the golf course is playing ridiculously hard. It'll be fun.
And who you got winning this tournament?
I'm still going to take my guy Spieth, even though he's won over and made it triple.
All
right. But we'll see.
Stick with your gut. Trust the guy. So anybody out there, you know, playing DFS or going to the casino, put money down, open up your sports app with the bets. I mean, the sports betting apps are amazing. Ohio, get with the program so I can start losing money, okay? Because I'm sick of having to, like, drive over the line to Pennsylvania and be like, I'm in Pennsylvania now. I can place a bet, but I just spent $40 in gas to get there. Let's get with it, Ohio. Anyway, let's talk some football. Sammy Darnold got traded.
Yeah.
Sammy Darnold gets traded to Carolina gets Sam Darnold. Now Teddy Bridgewater where's Teddy Bridgewater going to end up? But they gave up a 6th round this year, a 2 next year, and a 4 next year.
Yeah.
Is that a lot to give up for Sam Darnold?
No. I mean, you're just talking draft picks. I know you can – I mean, the way that they structured it, I believe the 2nd and the 4th or the 2nd's next year, if I'm correct.
2nd and 4th are next season.
Yeah, and so for this trade, to me, it's you're gambling on the quarterback. I mean, Sam Darnold's still younger than Joe Burrow. We hear every day. And so you put him in an offense with a competent running back, more than competent, one of the best in the league, with his ability to catch the ball at the backfield. And there's some nice weapons there in Carolina. Again, we talk about this all the time. You got to put the pieces in the table here if you want to go get a quarterback. So I think Carolina, roll the dice, and Zach Wilson's going to be heading up, to play for the Jets. We think, unless something crazy happens. But then, you look at Teddy Bridgewater, and there's teams. I mean, if I'm the Denver Broncos with my current quarterback situation, I'm making a phone call to talk about Teddy Bridgewater. That team has a lot of valuable weapons, a lot of speed. Cortland Sutton coming back. They got all kinds of playmakers on the outside. So, I mean, if you're a team that really doesn't have a quarterback, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater can win some games for you. But again, the value you get back from Teddy Bridgewater isn't going to be the Sam Darnold, because we know what Teddy Bridgewater is at this point.
I mean, you look at Teddy Bridgewater. I wrote in my full coverage column, which will come out every Monday now on fcfspod.substack.com, that Teddy Bridgewater's a guy who he might not win you a game, but he's not really going to lose you the game. He's going to keep you in it, but he's not going to make those plays to get you over the top. However, you mentioned Denver. If you put him in a lineup where he can chuck it to Jerry Jeudy, I mean, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton coming back, they got weapons there that would
KJ
fit.
Hamler.
And where you just, KJ Hamler, I mean, they are absolutely loaded. I get that. But is Sam Darnold really that much better right now than Teddy Bridgewater? Or is this Carolina saying, you know what? We saw what Teddy is. Let's roll the dice after we get this guy away from Adam Gase and see what we can do here.
Yeah, why not? So what? You're going to bring Teddy to stay around to be mediocre? Like, we know what Teddy is. Like, You go with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold sucks. Then, hey, listen, we're back to the drawing board. Again, I think with Teddy Bridgewater, you kind of know what quarterback he is, and he's a serviceable quarterback, right? I mean, that's what he is. Again, like you made a great point. He's not going to go out there and throw interceptions to lose you the game, but he's not necessarily going to be able to push the ball down the field, but to the extent that you want. But again, if you're Carolina, I mean, even if Sam Darnold is Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to have to reset anyway. You need to figure this out, and then you're going to be going back to the draft to look for a team or look for a quarterback because in all honesty, your team's not going to be very good even with Christian McCaffrey.
And I think what Carolina did is they looked at this draft where they're at number 8. They said, we can give up number 8, the 2, the 4, and the 6, and maybe we can move up to 4 or 5, and maybe we end up with Trey Lance or we end up with Mac Jones. And they're like, I mean, are they really that much better coming out right now than what we have in or what we can get in Sam Darnold? And maybe they're not. Now, in a little bit, we'll talk about pro comps here. We'll have a fun little game that we're going to make up on the fly because that's what this matinee show is about, making shit up on the fly, and let's roll with it and have fun. But Sammy Darnold, this guy coming out, his biggest thing was he needed to learn how to be a quarterback. And then you put him with this offensive guru in Adam Gase, and Adam Gase was supposed to help him mature, help him learn how to be a quarterback. That never happened. Biggest thing when you watch Sam Darnold right now is that he still doesn't learn to properly set his feet to release the ball to get it accurate. His accuracy has been so sketchy. There are throws he makes. There's a throw I think he made last year where he's running to his left, across the body, and throws a rifle, just a dart to the chest of his receiver. And then there's times where he's in a clean pocket, standing back there, doesn't set his feet, and sails it over. And nobody knows that more than Robbie Anderson, who now he's getting joined with in Carolina. Like, Robbie Anderson's a guy who's like, man, I got away from this dude, and now they're bringing him in. Let's hope that Sam Darnold gets under Joe Brady. I mean, Brady is the guy, the guru who turned Joe Burrow into the monster we've seen. Let's see what Joe Brady does with Sam Darnold. That is something we're going to get to watch early since we're going to get 3 preseason games. We'll get to actually watch how they develop for once because we didn't get that last year. Everyone was learning on the fly basically the way we're doing the show today. But you're going to get to see how things build with Joe Brady. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
And I mean, you can make the Adam Gase argument, and I'm in on the Adam Gase argument that Adam Gase just isn't very good. All right. Mm-hmm. And we can make the Ryan Tannehill argument that, hey, Ryan Tannehill went here and he was better, and that's fine. But you can't put this all on Adam Gase.
100% right.
Sam Darnold's a professional. And to touch on some of your, he doesn't set his feet very often because he's kind of running for his ass quite often. Mm-hmm. That team hasn't had the ability to run the ball. They actually, like 2 games a year, they have like a 300-yard rushing game, and then they're good for about 78 yards a pop from there on out. And they haven't really had very many weapons outside of Robbie Anderson, who of course wasn't there last season.
No,
who had a very nice season.
I mean, Jamison Crowder is probably the best guy he's had outside of that.
Yeah, and I would agree. And so, I mean, a change of scenery is nice, but there needs to be accountability. Sam Darnold is a player outside of Adam Gase just being the dumpster fire because we know he's a dumpster fire.
And kudos to you for bringing that up because no one else is bringing that up. I mean, no one's mentioning, hey, yeah, Adam Gase sucked, but Sam Darnold needs to also learn how to be a pro. And now, in Cleveland, of course, Tony Grossi, who loves to stir shit up. It's like, would Baker Mayfield been able to survive the mess that was the New York Jets? Bro, he survived 0-16, 1-15, Hugh Jackson, and then Freddie fucking Kitchens the year after. Yeah, he probably would have. Would he have gotten better? Probably not. But that's also goes down to who knows. So let's not go with the what ifs.
We can't act like the Browns situation was worse than the Jets situation, can we?
I mean, it wasn't better. It wasn't worse. Like the Browns, keep in mind, this was the first year the Browns have been good in 150,000 years.
Oh, I remember.
I mean,
yeah, it's again. I mean, we do talk about it often. Where you get drafted is certainly valuable to the player that you turn out to be the coaches. When you look at a guy like Baker Mayfield, I mean, he was running through coaches and OCs left and right, and
was he head coaches, 4 OCs in 30 games. So yeah,
as a young player, I mean, it's difficult to one grasp the NFL as a whole, because we know it's a bigger, faster, stronger league.
Yep.
So you have that, and then you have different playbooks, and you have different coaches, and you have different coaching methods, and every time it's different. And so you're just trying to find a stable base as a young player in the league, and it looks like with Stefanski and the boys that they kind of have like grown up in the room, a foundation kind of starting to be built, a culture. And listen, Stefanski and those guys, they know Baker has limitations.
Yep.
And everybody, I mean, there's very few quarterbacks that don't have limitations. They're Rodgers and Mahomes potentially. I mean, but you could make that argument, whatever. But what they're going to do, that what Freddie Kitchens failed to do, was put them in positions to succeed, and put Baker in positions to succeed. As we saw, his ability to get the passes out quickly, get the ball out of his hands, where the year before it was like running a Madden game. Like it was like a four
birds.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like it was just ass Madden, and it was like in that, and then he was just taking a beating, and then people say he holds on to the ball too long. Well, Christ, I mean, the guys are running goes. Like he's got to hold on to the ball. But Stefanski, and that's why Freddie Kitchens is a first-time head coach. That's sometimes you just get consumed in the moment. But Stefanski, as a first-time head coach, seemed to kind of know what he was doing. But Stefanski didn't necessarily go from Freddie Kitchens got promoted very quickly 2 times.
He did.
And so Stefanski has been around this league quite a long time and had some success in Minnesota. So he seems to have everything heading in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, if Baker was with a terrible coach, and I mean, he kind of was. So you can't really make that argument.
And that's exactly why it comes down to 2 things. Baker, one, holds himself accountable. He worked to get better at certain things. We give him that. But when it really comes down to everything, it's really what the coaches can do for you to put you in the position to succeed. And that's where Joe Brady's going to come in handy. But looking at this right as it is, Darnold for the 3 picks, who wins the trade right off the bat, in your opinion?
I still kind of believe in Darnold a little bit. I don't know why. I think it's completely blind on my part. I really do, but I think he's got the tools. And I think Matt Rule and what they're doing down there, I think they're kind of doing the right thing too. They're trying to listen. Ron Rivera, fantastic football coach. I think you and I could both agree on that. And it's not like Matt Rule took over a terrible situation. I mean, the culture for that team was, Ron Rivera's Riverboat Ron's a no shit kind of guy.
Yep.
But again, bringing in a new lens, bringing in a younger, more innovative offensive mind can certainly be beneficial. I mean, you could say that, hey, that sounded like Adam Gase at one point, but you hope that it's different.
Yeah, 100% right. I mean, the funny thing is, you mentioned that Sam Darnold's younger than Joe Burrow. And that is the reason that not only did he get traded and people still think he has, a possibility of being good, but also that right away they picked up his $20 million option for next year or for the following season. So they got 2 seasons of him. And I understand once you make that trade, had to. But if you're going based on numbers and the way they played on the field, there's a guy out there, and I'm going to bring up Mitchie, because if you look at Mitchie's numbers and you look at numbers alone, Mitchie's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, but he's going to be 27 years old. And he signs a 1-year, $2.5 million deal.
He has an MVP. Don't forget about that Nickelodeon most valuable player.
That's very true.
Nobody else has that on their
nobody.
Nobody can say that. So
you get that, but it's funny because 27 years old to 24, turning 25, there's still hope. At 27, they're like, you are what you are. Just funny how the NFL works, because if you look at strictly numbers, completion percentage, touchdown passes, wins, losses, Mitch Trubisky is a better quarterback, but Sam Darnold gets the chance to go in and start in a new place because of his age. That's what it comes down to the NFL. You always get a chance if you go in young.
You did say statistically.
Statistically, yes.
Okay.
But we'll see what Sam Darnold does, because I'm with you. I still have faith in Sam Darnold because I think he can learn. But so many people have put it only on Adam Gase, and you brought it up that he's got to take it on himself to go in there and get better. Let's see what he does. Let's see if the villain from the first Incredibles movie has finally learned his lesson and goes out there and does something.
You're right. You're right. It'll be interesting. What do you think? I don't think we've talked about Mitchie's signing. Have we talked about his free agent signing?
No, I think it's a great signing for him because I think we talked on the show a million times. He needs to reset. You've seen the talent there. There is talent there. Is he a good quarterback right now? No. Is he better than Sam Darnold right this second? If I had to win one game, who would I rather have? I hope not to be in that situation, but it'd be a toss-up.
Well, Matt Nagy's also been asked too.
Yeah. So when you're out there and you can sign, he probably could have signed in Denver for more money and had a shot to compete with Drew Lock and whatever. He could have gone there, but just be smart, step back and say, yeah, I'll take the 1 year, $2.5 million deal. Go to a place that has built up Josh Allen from a guy who we always say you can't teach accuracy. Well, apparently you can because Josh Allen's a totally different quarterback right now. Work with Brian Daboll. Sit on the bench because he was supposed to sit when he first went to Chicago, and they were like, "No, we're going to start you right away." He's going to get a chance. Maybe
raw, remember?
Yeah,
he was pretty raw coming out of North Carolina.
One season he started in North Carolina.
Yeah, so no, you're right. I mean, again, though, in this league, if you're drafted in the first round, most teams that are drafting first-round quarterbacks don't have the luxury to sit them on the bench. That's just the way it is.
I mean, but you have to know what you're coming in with. I mean, they put a lot on him. He was okay the first year, really good the second year, and then it was just downhill. So for him to sit there and say, maybe I can learn, maybe I can bounce back, gives him a year off. Basically doing what Jameis did last year. Jameis got the year off last year, and Jameis was, ass at the end of his career there in Tampa with going 30 for 30. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's interesting, something to look at eventually, going into next season. But he'll be 27, 28 years old. You're supposed to be what you are at that point.
Right, and I rip Mitch all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But I mostly because he's a Bears quarterback.
Yeah.
And I like to make fun of the Bears. But I hope he goes. So I hope he gets another opportunity. I kind of think, he might be in maybe his calling, for the next 5 years is being the backup to somewhere, and there's nothing wrong with that. Listen,
that is not a bad gig.
Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick was backing up for multiple years, and then he kind of had the resurgence, and now, you look at him, you're like, that's a fun guy.
Yeah, and he wasn't – that was the thing with Fitzpatrick. He would go in there, and he would try to be perfect. Right. And then he would never get to keep a job. And then now he goes out there, and he's like, bro, I went from this clean-cut Harvard kid to I got the beard, the swag, the drip, as the kids call it.
Drip.
He's totally different dude, and he goes out there and just goes balls to the wall and says, hey, let's sling it. Let's have some fun. And Fitzy's going to stick around forever.
Well, yeah, and when you're hesitant too, and when you're trying to be perfect, you don't let it loose.
Yep.
You're going to throw interceptions. I mean, Christ, Peyton Manning threw 700 in his rookie season.
That he did.
It's, great quarterbacks. There's some, of course, that don't throw. Matt Stafford throws some interceptions, right? And I'm not saying he's a great quarterback.
He's a gunslinger.
But I'd rather the guy go out swinging than than try to, yes, he's going to throw an interception when you're trying to go down and win the game, and those things happen. But yeah, when you're hesitant, you're not letting it fly, and the guys that are hesitant are just the dumper offers to the running back guys, a little tight end stick or a little running back out after a chip. Those are the kind of guys that they're just content trying to just move it 3 to 5 yards at a time.
I don't want to lose the game for us, and that's what Teddy Bridgewater's been. Right. That's why they Carolina Panthers. See, this all came full circle. Excellent. This is why Teddy Bridgewater, you knew what he was. You saw what he's going to do. This is why you got to take the chance on Sam Darnold. Now, as we're talking quarterbacks, let's talk about a quarterback who's not having a very good offseason. And the offseason's been all about him for good or bad so far. That's Deshaun Watson. This week, 2 of the 22 women who have lawsuits against him, they've spoken out. Ashley Solis, Lauren Baxley. Now Nike, Reliant Energy, H-E-B, and Beats by Dre have either suspended or cut ties with him. And then, all of a sudden people are writing articles about how Roger Goodell needs to step in and do something about this, about his roster status, and make sure he's not traded and all that, like we talked about on this show 3 weeks ago. But who starts a game first going into next year? Trey Lance or Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
Listen, Roger Goodell is paying close attention to the situation. I can promise you that. But what good does it? What's he supposed to do at this point? We're speaking of all allegations at this point. And granted, there's a shitload of them, right? I mean, we're not talking about a couple.
Nope.
Basically, the entire Metro Houston area has accused him of
or the other half stuck out and been like, oh no, he's fine. 40 different massage therapists. I mean, okay.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, I don't want to say where there's smoke, there's fire, but there's a shitload of smoke.
That's exactly what I have written down on this piece of paper.
I mean, it's and again, we're not going to sit on the show and make any stupid things or say dumb things because I don't know this. I mean, I know the situation. I paid close attention to the situation, but again, I can't just come out here and say the guy blatantly did something wrong. However, I will sit here and say that from 3 weeks ago to today or a month ago to today, it's certainly starting to really feel like some Bill Cosby type.
Yeah, we're not going to say he did something wrong for sure, but he definitely didn't do something right in a lot of these situations.
Exactly.
I understand you're rich, you're an athlete, but
it just is.
You put yourself in some weird situations for a lot of these women to have very, very similar stories. Now, I know that everyone's like, oh, they're money grubbers, they're after the money, blah, blah, blah. We'll see when it all comes out. But it is not a very good look for Deshaun Watson right now. And all Goodell has to say is right now his roster status is he's on the Houston Texans. We're not going to allow him to be traded until everything's cleared up. Just something right now to get out ahead of it. As we talked about on the show before, just get out ahead of it.
Yeah.
That's really what you got to do.
There's nothing he can really say right now because he's going to follow the legal things going to play out and things of that nature. But at the same time, it's again, you have this many people come out in Deshaun Watson for everything I've read, everything I'm sure you've read over time is Deshaun Watson's a hell of a good dude. And that's just what you've always heard. But again, there might be certainly something here, and again, it's tough to say, but I mean, again, everything I've read, man, everything I've seen is Deshaun Watson's this good dude, but people do things behind closed doors that aren't.
I mean, cool. you brought up Bill Cosby. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Is it flickering on your end there?
Yeah, it's tripping out pretty good.
I don't know what's going on, but I'll fix it.
Not even stone.
I'm like looking in the corner here, and there's like 3 of me. But yeah, you brought up Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby, he was America's dad. I mean, let's see how this works. Okay, there I am. So you brought up Bill Cosby, America's dad. Let's see if this camera works better here. Everyone loved him, the pudding pop guy, Jello, hey, mate, all the crazy noises you make. Everyone thought he was adorable. Now he's an old man in prison because he liked to give people the fudge sickle while they were asleep. I mean,
yeah. So, I mean, which the 2 cases are completely different. But again, to your point, like,
we don't know.
But again, it's a person that the people thought in their minds was a good dude overall, and just a lot of people, dude. That's a lot of fucking people, a lot of women to come forward and listen. We've seen, I don't want to say we've seen in past that somebody will file a suit and then somebody will say, hey, maybe I can jump on and we can get a buck out of this, right? And that's fair to say in certain cases that certainly happened. But Jesus, I mean, it's a lot of people, dude. Like at some point, it's like, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if he's like, clearly he's not. He can't say anything to anybody.
Yep.
It'll be weird how this all plays off. Luckily, we have a long time for football.
That we do.
Luckily for him, not luckily for us.
And I mean, the thing with Roger Goodell, the reason I've brought it up multiple times is that he has to say something. Is this is a guy who they have NFL Women's Month and they want to be all about women, and you're gonna just not say anything about this. I get it. It's a building case. You don't have all the facts, but you might want to just get out ahead of it because that's where the NFL always loses out. Because eventually, go ahead.
Exactly. No, to that point, real quick, the NFL can have a Women's Month all they want. Listen, Ray Rice was suspended 2 games until we caught him not going to check out an elevator.
Exactly
so it's a bullshit game by the NFL anyway. Like you're a bunch of frauds. I mean, we're going to watch your products. We like football, but let's not. Yeah, don't even have a Women's Month. Don't act like you're like, let's have a Women's Month when at the same time, it's just all a bunch of, hey, plaster the NFL with their Women's Month, plaster the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, do this, do that. And
it's all about this.
Exactly. I wish I just had money, cash laying around. What the hell is that all about?
Bro, I don't know where this came from. It fell out of my notebook. I mean, it's all crumpled up here.
I'm married, man. I haven't had cash in 10 years.
I ripped off a piece of paper, and I'm like, $5. Fantastic. Yes. All right, let's move on to a fun game here. All right, I got pro comparisons for quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. Okay. I'm going to give you who I have as the comparisons, and you're going to rank them in order of who you think's best to worst, and then I'll tell you who the comparison was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. That sounds good.
We'll see how this works. All right, let's start with the quarterbacks. So, quarterback number 1. Let's go here. Let me write it down so I can get your order here. Quarterback number 1 I have as Kirk Cousins. That's his comparison.
Okay.
QB 2 is Josh Allen / Colin Kaepernick. QB 3, Dak Prescott. QB 4, Ryan Tannehill meets Peyton Manning.
Jesus Christ. All right. Tannehill meets Manning.
And QB 5 is Tony Romo. So, in your opinion, based on those comparisons, who's QB 5? If you're ranking them just on those.
So if I'm just ranking them on their names.
Yeah. Based on their comparisons. Okay. QB 4?
Ryan Tannehill.
Okay. Meets Peyton Manning.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Meets Peyton Manning. That could be crucial, though. That could be. Yeah. I need to throw that in there. You're right.
QB 3.
QB 3, I'm going to go with Dak Prescott.
All right. QB 2?
Tony Romo.
All right. And QB 1?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen meets Colin Kaepernick.
Damn, Tannehill meets Manning has me intrigued, though.
Yes. All right.
Wait, is it Peyton Manning or Eli Manning?
Peyton Manning.
Oh, damn it. I kind of want to move Tannehill meets. Hang on.
Okay. Redo it.
I want to go Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I want to go Tony Romo. Or no. Yes. Yep. I'm Kirk Cousins, Tony Romo.
All right. Hang on. Let me get this written down here.
Sorry. With Peyton Manning.
All right. So Cousins is staying 1, and then you're going Romo at 4.
Yep.
And then 3.
Tannehill meets Manning.
Okay.
And then I'll go Prescott and Josh Allen.
All right. So, oh man, I wrote the wrong names here. Let me make sure I get it right here. All right.
Sorry. So, I was too intrigued.
This is an interesting game to just come up on the fly here. So, based on that, the rankings you would have the 2021 quarterback class based on those 5 guys. Number 5 is Mac Jones. I have his pro comp as Kirk Cousins.
I'm okay with that.
Number 4, Tony Romo, is Zach Wilson.
Interesting. Okay.
Number 3.
Trey Lance is Josh Allen then, is what I did?
Yep, you're going to get there. Number 3, Ryan Tannehill meets Peyton Manning. That's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Okay.
Dak at number 2, that would be Justin Fields. And number 1, Trey Lance, is Josh Allen meets Colin Kaepernick. That's their ceiling comp now. So that's an interesting way to look at it, because when you don't know who the guys are and you're just thinking pro comp, switches things up for you.
I would take a Tannehill meets Manning all day. Damn it.
I mean, I watched so much Trevor Lawrence the other night. I slept 53 minutes Sunday night. I could not sleep. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just watch some football tape. It'll put me to sleep. No, here I am writing notes like crazy. But you watch Trevor Lawrence. He's got Peyton Manning's mind with Ryan Tannehill's athleticism. The way he moves, their bodies are similar. I mean, so much looks like Ryan Tannehill.
He's got to cut his hair, dude. His hair, he looks like an ass. I'll say it right now. He was at Augusta National today, right? And it looks like some dude's girlfriend out there. Like, get it together, bro. Like, I mean, you're gonna be New England needs to draft him and say, hey, bro, you need to bust that shit.
Go with the old Yankees look where you got to shave it. You got to shave the beard and cut the hair.
Yeah, no doubt.
Have you seen the girl? I don't know if it's on TikTok or I don't know what she does, but it's a girl who looks just like Trevor Lawrence.
I have.
It's incredible. So yeah,
Good for
absolutely
her
looks
for
like
just-
someone's
for just
girlfriend.
playing that up too, by
Yeah,
the way.
she is totally down with it. All right, that was fun. So let's recap your rankings there. At number 1, Trey Lance. Number 2, Justin Fields. Number 3, Trevor Lawrence. Number 4 would be Zach Wilson. Zach Capono Wilson, as I've been bringing up his.
Can I jet off to a random topic real quick?
Of course, that's what the show's for.
So let's talk about Atlanta's pick and Atlanta moving on to that pick. Well, first off, Trey Lance needs to sit for a year wherever he's drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's one of those guys that, man, just a freakish athleticism and arm talent. He's running up boards, but he is not necessarily ready.
Mystery
he definitely, well, yes. And you know what? But dude, these NFL scouts love a mystery box, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think the team that drafts him, I mean, you at least want him to try to sit because there's a lot there. But that's why, I mean, anyway, bringing up Atlanta, because Atlanta is rumored to be, fielding calls for that pick, which this thing's shaping up to just be a quarterback fest for the first 45 minutes of this draft.
Which makes me insane because they're going to wait that entire clock.
Yeah, to the 15. Yeah,
why?
Yeah, like somebody's calling and going to get Trevor Lawrence from you. Oh yeah, let me get you Deshaun Watson. Oh, that guy. Okay, yeah, that'd be great. You know,
Mike Ditka's not trading you his entire 2 drafts to move up. That's not happening. As soon as the draft starts, as soon as the commission says, "Hey, Jacksonville's on the clock," just have someone handle the card. Let's get it rolling here.
The Jets and the 49ers as well.
Yep.
The 49ers moved up to 3. They know who they want. And I'm starting to believe like it's Mac Jones.
Mac Jones can be talked up all they want. But Mac Jones, you made the point last week, and I wrote about it at fcfspod.substack.com, that it makes sense for the Niners to take Trey Lance in that spot because he is a guy to sit. You brought it up last week, and we bring up Trey Lance again for the Falcons at 4 because he can sit behind Matt Ryan. Perfect spots for him because that's where you're going to get the best stuff out of him. And how many times you plan on drafting that high? But who's moving up to 4? Is Denver going to move up to 4 and take? I mean, it depends who's sitting there. If the Niners take Mac Jones, if they gave up all those assets to take a Kirk Cousins clone, fine, whatever. I don't like it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot, and that's why I'm sitting here in a chair rather than sitting in the big office with John Lynch. But if that's what you did to give up all that to move up for Mac Jones, if I'm Denver, if I'm any team that wants to move up for a QB, I am giving everything I can to move up to 4. Give me Justin Fields all day, because Justin Fields is going to be better than Mac Jones 100%.
Yeah. So here's the deal. When you move up to 4, you know who San Francisco's taking, right? You have to know who San Francisco's taking. I don't think San Francisco at this point needs to necessarily make it a secret, although I'm sure they'll keep it close to the vest. I'm sure they're going to be. I know Justin Fields, I read, was going to have like a second pro day. I mean, I don't know what the hell.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, so now we're in COVID. Now we have 6 pro days, but who the hell cares? And so, of course, they'll be there. But again, it seems like they already moved up for the guy they wanted, regardless of whether they go to Justin Fields pro day or not.
Pro days should not be changing your mind at this point.
No, well,
You've seen the guy play. You know what he is. Throwing against air in some tight shorts isn't changing my mind on any quarterback. Right
the only people whose minds are changed at pro days are people on social media.
Twitter.
Yeah. And it's ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 40 times and like, listen, we've seen 3 seasons of this player.
Yep.
Them running in your like underwear Olympics. It's your point. It shouldn't necessarily outweigh
55-yard throw going to his right against air. Oh my God!
Think of Deshaun Watson, for example. When Deshaun Watson came out, everybody wanted to critique everything about Deshaun Watson, but
overthought it.
But the fact of the matter was, Deshaun Watson did nothing but destroy college football, and he walked in the NFL and tore that up until now. But I remember that draft that people overthought Deshaun Watson. Like, hey, and so it's we're in, like you say, silly season. But I think the quarterback that could fall is Justin Fields. And you're right. If Atlanta stays pat, they could take a Trey Lance. But Yeah, if I'm Denver, I'm trying to make a move.
Mhm.
If you're a team, I mean, there's not a ton of teams back there that you would think would move up. You would think
I mean,
that the Patriots, if they loved a guy like Justin Fields or a Trey Lance,
yep.
that they would, for whatever reason, Billy's on the Henny this offseason. He's just throwing cash out there. So why the hell not just give up draft?
That's where this came from. Billy was chucking cash. It ended up in my notebook.
Well, and we know he can't draft for shit anyway, so you might as
they've
well,
been terrible.
move up and then say, but yeah, so what are the draft picks worth? Again, it's to me, I would think Denver would be that team, but if you're Atlanta too, I mean, you got to think of yourself and your future.
36-year-old quarterback.
Exactly. Not to look too far forward, but the quarterback class next year is not up to par as this quarterback class is. No. So you also have to take that into consideration.
I mean, Sam Howell looks good right now, and he could be a Baker Mayfield clone, but we'll see. Let's see how he does this year. He looked really good this past season, but you had two really good running backs on that squad who did a ton of stuff. Javonte Williams is a stud, and he's going to go really high in this draft and possibly the first round. But let me ask you this. So Justin Fields could slip. Maybe Atlanta says 4, you know what, we're going to take Jamar Chase. 5, whatever the Bengals want to do. 6.
Bring him home.
7. He's sitting there at 7.
Bring him home.
Let's say he gets passed up by the Lions. Let's say they're like, nah, we don't want him.
Wait a damn second. We didn't say that.
But let's say it happens. And then sitting there at 8 is the Carolina Panthers. You just traded for Sammy Darnold, but Justin Fields has fallen into your lap. Do you still think, you know what? We don't know what Sammy Darnold really is, but we know we got him for the next 2 years. But Justin Fields could be pretty good. He could be anything. He could be Sam Darnold. He could be Justin Fields. He could be Dak Prescott.
So
do you take him if you're the Carolina Panthers and say, let's find our quarterback?
So if you're the Lions and you have Jared Goff and he's in there for 2 years and Jared Goff could be Jared Goff or he could be Justin Fields, why the hell would we do that?
I don't think they shouldn't. If he's sitting there at 7, I would take him at 2. I mean, he's my number 2 quarterback, well above everyone else. But yes, the Lions should absolutely be like, okay, we're going to sprint up to the podium. I mean, they should do it. But if you're Carolina and that happens.
I think you, again.
What's up, brother?
Hey, Chris, my man. So here, let me ask you this. Does that ruffle feathers of the guy that you just brought in that you're trying to kind of regain his confidence because it's kind of shattered at this point? Does that, I mean, I know it's a business, but again, you're basically saying you're committed to Sam Darnold, and then 20 minutes later you're out with another chick.
Hey, you want to keep the job? Work for it. What did we say earlier? He hasn't really stepped up on his own to do things. So maybe this is the kick in the ass he needs because he doesn't really have any competition.
What if Carolina can add a Kyle Pitts type player there?
They definitely should because their tight ends are trash. Correct. And if he falls to 8, then Denver's got to say, listen, we'll give you, whatever it takes to move up that one spot and get him because they need to get him.
What if the Lions took Kyle Pitts over Justin Fields?
I'm all for seeing what happens on that because you're going to be sitting here ready for it and you're going to be like,
I like Kyle Pitts.
I like Kyle Pitts, but
no, listen, I like Kyle Pitts, but at the same time, you just drafted, and I understand. So for people on social media, I get that, Kyle Pitts, he's more than a tight end. I understand, okay? Yeah. I don't need the dumbass argument. It's not about the player. The player is fantastic. It's about when you're drafting in the top 10 and you have the opportunity to take a quarterback, even if you miss on him, at least you swung. And that's because without a quarterback, what the hell is Kyle Pitts?
Don't strike out looking.
Yeah.
Swing for the fences. Kilted Haggis on YouTube. Wilson greater than Fields, but in my opinion, there is not much between them. As a Jets fan, I'll be happy with either. If Fields falls, it'll be a great pickup and steal. Yeah, anywhere he falls is going to be a great pickup and steal. Jets fan, you're getting Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's going there. But to give you a heads up for next week, we're going to have a QB roundtable. And Harrison Glazer of Take Flight Media will join us. As of now, Daniel Kelly possibly joining us, former Jet scout, who absolutely hates Zach Wilson. And we'll have a couple other guests to talk quarterbacks. We're going to go next week, talk all about these quarterbacks, really find out what more people other than us think about them. So Kilted Haggis, check us out next week. Thanks for the comment. We've gone all over with these quarterbacks. We are going to talk more about them next week. It's going to be interesting because we're guaranteed almost that Zach Wilson's going number 2. And then it's anybody's guess after that.
And Zach Wilson's an intriguing player. And of course, we'll get into it more next week. If you're a Jets fan, I mean, you got to be excited about the fact that you're going to get, Zach Wilson again.
The one thing
3 months ago, my man might not have been the person, but Jets Mafia was saying, hey, we want that guy down in Houston that has all the masseuse.
He was. I mean, Harrison came on our show in February, and he was like, listen, Deshaun Watson should be the guy. And then it was, if not Deshaun Watson, give me Zach Wilson. He's big on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's his dude, so he's going to be really excited with that, and I can't wait talking about that next week. But let's get into wide receivers here. Let's go back to the same kind of style we were going. I will give you the comparisons, and then you will rank them. So, wide receiver number 1 in the mystery box, Chad Johnson.
Can I write Ocho Cinco, or do I have to write Chad Johnson?
No, you should probably write Ocho Cinco. I tried to write Chad Johnson. I was trying to be, professional about this.
I spelled Cinco wrong, but we move.
Keenan Allen is pro comp number 2.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill is wide receiver number 3.
Does it come with his past and his behaviors?
No, this is a clean, no issues off the field. This is on the field, Tyreek Hill.
Must have been a long time ago. Okay.
Yeah, long time, like 5th grade. So, I mean, he was probably the same size. All right. Wide receiver number 4, T.O. meets Kenny Galladay.
Oh, we got another meets.
Yep.
T.O. meets KG.
And wide receiver.
All right.
Wide receiver number 5, Julian Edelman.
Okay.
All right. Who is wide receiver number 5, sir?
Julian Edelman.
All right. Number 4.
Keenan Allen.
Number 3.
Tyreek Hill.
Number 2.
Ocho Cinco.
Ocho. And number 1.
I have this obsession with the hybrid guys. So I want T.O. meets Kenny Galladay is the guy I want, because that's Jamar Chase. And I know that's what you're going to say. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could see that being Jamar Chase. And I will take a T.O. over any guy that you just listed, even if it's just a T.O. meeting, just T.O. Give me that guy.
T.O., absolute stud. Too many people forget how good he was because of the off-the-field crap that people gave him a big deal about. But dude, I still enjoy watching him do the sit-ups in his driveway. That's entertainment. Eat your popcorn, baby. All right, number 5, Julian Edelman comp. That was Rondale Moore. Shifty, skinny dude, 5'9", 180. Can do a little bit of everything. Julian Edelman.
Run real fast and jump out of the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Keenan Allen, that's Rashad Bateman.
Okay, I can see that. That seems all right. Those first 2 check out, in my opinion.
Right.
I like
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
about the same size, except he's clean off the field.
Is Devin Smith going to be Ocho Cinco?
Devontae Smith is.
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith is Ocho Cinco, and Devin Smith's probably my biggest miss as a wide receiver prospect ever. I thought that kid was going to be a stud, and the Jets took him, and then he ended up being nothing. And number 1, my T.O. Kenny G is definitely Jamar Chase. Now, Jamar Chase ran a 4.38 at his pro day, probably runs a 4.45 if we're really looking. Pro days, speed, whatever. But by far the number 1 wide receiver in this draft for me. I mean,
I'm surprised Jalen Wild didn't run a 3.89 based off the clock numbers we've got this offseason.
I know. I'm waiting for someone to run a 2 flat.
Yeah, exactly.
Started the clock late, but we're going to keep that one. That's going to look really good, son. You want to keep that one.
That's a pro day. Like, you know what I mean?
That is a hell of a pro day.
Anytime that you get your people from the school clocking it, there's always a little bit of time ticked off of that bad boy.
Thanks for that, Pops. I appreciate it. I mean, you look at these wide receivers. All these guys are going to be should be first rounders. Anybody slides, you're going to get a steal at the top of the 2nd round. But having a guy, you look at Devontae Smith, and then you watch Chad Ochocinco, skinny dudes, super skinny dudes.
Super long arms.
Super long arms.
Big wingspan. This isn't basketball, but
make plays and strong hands. I mean, I don't know if Devontae Smith's going out and eat McDonald's for every meal like Ocho is, but Ocho does Ocho. Ocho's probably one of my favorite wide receivers
He was
ever.
a different breed, and he was an AFC North competitor for
Yeah,
you. Well,
and I still love watching him. No,
but yeah.
I mean, I watch him I mean, Joe Hayden shut him down a couple times. Other than that, I watch him destroy my team constantly. Yeah, these wide receivers, man, it's such a good wide receiver draft.
Let me ask you this, though. Who's the guy of the guys?
As far as wide receiver?
Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
I think it's again, people, and I think everybody's starting to kind of align with the Jamar Chase thing. And I do think Pitts is taken off the board before Waddle or Devontae Smith.
Miami, possibly.
I feel like people are starting to remember that the dude just took the season off, and he was the best wide receiver on a team with Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of like he does kind of it all. And of course, when the 40 time came out, it was like, okay, this dude possesses the skills. He's a 50-50 ball guy. He's a great route runner. He can just kind of just dominate. And then he runs a 2.440 and
flat.
It was, I mean, I think at that point, and this is one of the times where I think you and I, we talked about this. I think Jamar Chase was the guy for us, even with Devontae Smith winning the Heisman.
Yep.
People forgot, and then the people at the pro day, and this is what happens on social media, and lots of social media people, then they're like, oh shit, a pro day, this guy did this. Well, yeah, Jamar Chase has been that guy since the national championship team.
Jamar Chase has that uncanny ability, and the reason I added Kenny Golladay to this is because Kenny Golladay high points football. Kenny Golladay doesn't get a ton of separation, but if you throw a 50-50 ball, he high points that ball and just it is in his hands and it's not going anywhere.
I've seen it.
Randy Moss is originally who I had down as Jamar Chase, but there is no Randy Moss. T.O., I can put someone kind of in the T.O. category, but Jamar Chase is that good as far as high pointing the football. And yeah, we're talking about Kyle Pitts.
He's a top 5 wide receiver ever too, right?
For me, absolutely. He might be
well, be careful, tread lightly when we're talking about best receivers ever.
I just had this conversation the other day, and a dude got really pissed off at me.
Well, I'm probably not going to do that. But
Jerry Rice, number 1, Megatron, number 2, T.O., number 3.
Over Randy Moss. Is that where the guy got mad at you?
I mean, Moss, it's got to be Moss 3. But Moss had those down years, where T.O., I feel like he was just always on it. So, I mean, you could go back and forth, but as far as high pointing football, there's no one in Randy Moss's
like Golden Tate
space.
At 5?
Golden Tate's probably number 557. I mean, he makes my top 560.
That's good. He's well deserving of that award.
He's well deserving of it. All right, let's move on to running backs here. Running backs, I got 3 of them on here, and they're my 3 guys who I could see getting taken in the first round, but I don't think all 3 go in the first round. So
I want to get this one. I'm going to nail this one. I'm going to list them. Well, let's go.
All right.
I don't want to get out in front of them. Shit my brakes.
I got another meets comp for you here.
Good. I love that. He's going to be number 1 automatic. Ooh.
Gio Bernard meets Aaron Jones.
Okay.
Running back number 2, Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Running back pro comp number 3, bigger Mark Ingram.
Okay.
All right. Drew, rank those pro comp running backs. Number 3.
Well, no, I get that I'm supposed to do that. I'm thinking because I thought I was going to. All right. So I'll go with I'm going to go with Gio Bernard meets Aaron Jones, even though I said I love hybrids. But that's going to be my 3rd.
Number 2.
Mark Ingram.
Okay.
Big Truss or whatever they do over there.
And number 1.
Nick Chubb. Now, is this Mark Ingram in Houston or is this Mark Ingram with Lamar?
Mark Ingram coming out.
Okay.
I mean, the guy we saw in New Orleans. I almost said New England. So, based on that, your number 3 running back is Travis Etienne. That is the Gio Bernard meets Aaron Jones comp. Similar size. He's faster than Aaron Jones.
Better pass catcher than both those guys, too, I think.
Yep. But Gio Bernard with Andy Dalton.
The other 2 guys that you're going to name.
Yeah.
The other 2 guys you're going to name, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Now, number 2, the bigger Mark Ingram, that's Najee Harris. Najee Harris reminds me so much of Mark Ingram. Doesn't take the long steps at times. His feet are very carefully planted. It's an Emmitt Smith type running style. And he's just bigger. I mean, he's not – everyone wants to say, oh, he's 6'2", it's Derrick Henry. He's not Derrick Henry. There's only one Derrick Henry. Even coming out, Derrick Henry was in a class of his own. And number one, my Nick Chubb comp, that's Javonte Williams coming out of North Carolina. And the reason for that is if you watch them on tape and you watch this kid's patience, where he doesn't rush to the hole, he just lets his block set up, and then he takes off. The way to let the block set and then the vision reminds me so much of Nick Chubb.
What are the chances none of these running backs go in the first round?
Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
I don't think so either.
But if you're Pittsburgh and Najee Harris is sitting there, we talked about it last week, they need a running game. And Najee Harris is a Pittsburgh Steelers type running back.
Sorry, my contact fell out.
I was going to ask you if you're all right.
I seem like I always have contact issues on the show. To me, we look at last year, and let's throw something out. So let's throw out last year. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor.
Yep.
J.K. Dobbins. Mm-hmm. Which running back of these three is better than those two?
I mean,
Chuba Hubbard. I do love me some Chuba Hubbard. Because I don't think they are. I don't think they are. And I think that what Jonathan Taylor got taken with the last pick in the first round or something along those lines.
Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing. I feel like J.K. Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins last year, if you watched our 4.5-hour draft show before we went Trayvon Diggs half drunk crazy, J.K. Dobbins was a guy. I was pissed when Clyde Edwards-Helaire got taken over him. He fit. Chuba Hubbard, but while we're talking, Kilton Haggis on YouTube brings it up. Thoughts on Hubbard if you've had a chance to evaluate or look at him. So I'm not all the way into everything on Chuba, but let me see my notes here.
I mean, I watched a good amount of him in Oklahoma State. And again, I like the prospect. I also always worry and consider Big 12 front fours and Big 12 defenses in general. And I think I don't know if it's necessarily fair, but I think it's easy to chew up yardage in that conference, or easier to chew up yardage in that conference than any of the Power Five.
I mean, you look at him, he's 6'1", 207. He's a big kid. You saw the production. He keeps playing in bounds. He's not a guy who gets pushed out of bounds. I think he's a guy, you remember Jonathan Williams when he was with Pittsburgh?
I do.
And he was that guy who would run between the tackles. He had a lot of carries in college. I think he's got explosive. He's explosive. He's got decent skills, but I think he's going to be a scheme-specific guy. He's got to go in the right spot because otherwise he's not going to look good. I don't think he's a guy who's going to catch a ton out of the backfield, but I think he had – I can't find my other notebook, but I think it's like almost 600 carries in college. Those are the kind of guys you worry about. But I think he's a pretty damn good player.
Jonathan Taylor's that same guy.
Yeah.
But he's not Jonathan Taylor, but yes. But that was one of my concerns. Jonathan Taylor coming out of Wisconsin is the guy. He was the toe back. I mean, he had lots of feeds, man, and you're right, especially at the running back position. And the thing is with the NFL is, if you're that guy that can be a 3-down bell cow for us, and there's very, very few in this league anymore. But they're just going to run you until you die, and then they're just going to cut you. That's what they do.
I mean, that's why you see so little guys get. I mean, so little guys get that second contract. And when we talk to Nick Chubb's one of those guys who should get a second contract because he's been that good. He also didn't have a ton of college carries.
But yeah.
No,
well, that's because Georgia just produces running backs left and right. I mean, we got one up there in the 3-1-3 we're kind of excited about this year too.
It's a hell of a kid, and one of the few spots I don't think you guys need. I think I wrote in my article at fcfspod.substack.com that when you look at the Detroit Lions, basically left tackle, center, and running back were the only three spots I'd really stay away from drafting, and maybe tight end.
I think if Sewell drops to 7, he could very well be the pick,
and that's fine because
again, he's an offensive That's you get a lead offensive lineman, and he can line up at right tackle opposite Taylor Decker, and I think that you have a really nice thing there, especially when he drafted Jonah Jackson last year, which has proven to be a very good player.
You've got to remember how young Sewell is too. I mean, he played at 19. You see the dominant things he did at 19.
Better but every game.
Yeah, and I mean, he was dominant at 19 years old, just kicking everyone's ass. He's going to get better, but he's still
19-year-old
got to work.
Size, dude.
Scary. Absolutely scary. I couldn't imagine. But yeah, I mean, that was a fun game there with the comps. By Monday, I'll have my full rankings come out. and mock draft version 2. You can check those out, fcfspod.substack.com. Drew, anything else you want to get into tonight before we dip out of here?
No, I mean, I think we touched it. It'll be interesting again if there's movement. There's already been a lot of movement up top in this draft before we even get there. And that, do you think it falls? I mean, Lawrence is kind of a given. Wilson's kind of a given. You think Mac Jones is that guy at 3 for San Francisco, or do you think it could be Justin Fields?
I mean,
or Trey Lance, rather.
I just can't see Mac Jones at – there we go. I can see me again. I just can't see Mac Jones at number 3. Now, I get the thought. He is more athletic than we've seen. We didn't really have to see him do a lot of stuff because he was basically standing behind a brick wall. And there were guys running wide open. So we didn't really get to see everything he can do. Maybe they're seeing something we're not. He's got great accuracy. He's got the touch. I mean, it's tough. Let's hit a few things before we get out of here. All right, Chris Somerville. Rose in with a 7 under. Unreal. Is he the man or just the first day? Who do you like, Drew?
Nope. Rosie is not the man. Rosie had a hell of a round today. He's been plagued with injuries. He's also somewhat kind of a bitch and withdrew a few weeks ago just because he was playing like shit. It's a hell of a round from him. He's basically doubled everybody else. Jordan Spieth's my guy still. The fact we were on the show here, he basically was going to blade one in the water and hit the pin, went in for eagle. And I think that's a big deal. But yeah, right now you got Rose at 7 under, the next closest person at 3 under. So he definitely put himself out there, but I don't know if his game is yet at where it needs to be, especially off the tee. Really, he's been spraying the ball everywhere in the last 2 months to end up with 4 rounds and slide on the green jacket.
What time you go on your show tonight? Talking draft?
Yeah. So we'll be on a show at I think 8:30 or 9. I think it's 9. We're just going to do just a little recap of the first round, which lots to talk about. And so, you know me, I can talk about golf forever. It's where I annoy the shit out of people, so that's what I do.
But you're passionate about it. It's a great watch. If you are interested in the Masters or interested in golf at all, watch Drew. Follow him on Twitter at DetroitDave7. He will tweet it out there on the Hammerjacks Network, I believe. And one more before we got out of here. Kilted Haggis on YouTube once again. Bold predictions in the draft. Who falls? Who reaches? Humor me. What do you got?
I think Devontae Smith falls.
How far are we talking falls?
Into the teens.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say even between the 12 to 15 range, I can see him falling. I think the Oregon tool that we just talked about, the tackle, I think he could potentially fall because I think he's that good of a prospect. I think he falls. I also think Justin Fields falls, but not out of the top 10.
Okay.
Those are the guys like up at top. I think I could see Devontae Smith falling. I do think I think Jalen Waddle gets selected before Devontae Smith, I will say. Because I think that teams are going to be intrigued with his speed. He hasn't necessarily been able to stay on the field. But again, when we talk about Mac Jones, I mean, those are some pretty damn good weapons to be able to throw the football to. Mm-hmm. And so those few I could see slipping. As far as the running backs, I could see Zero getting taken in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if Zero got taken.
I can see that. For me, bold predictions, Jason Away, the defensive end out of Penn State. A lot of people look at him possibly the number 1 edge rusher. The guy didn't have any sacks in last season. He did not have the production. What makes me think he's going to have the production in the NFL? I think he's a guy who drops maybe even out of the first round. I wanted to say Micah Parsons, but I'm not going to double up on Penn State there. But Away's the guy who I could see fall for me. I think Pay from Michigan goes higher. I think Ojulari from Georgia goes high. And then it's anywhere for Away. And Jalen Phillips, I wrote mystery box because Phillips top 10 talent, but when you're talking about concussions and a guy who retired because of concussions, I mean, where do you take him? Those medicals have to be perfect. But as far as reaches, I mean, for me, Trey Lance is going to be a reach because he's such a mystery box of a guy. You got social
media. There's people that will literally slash your tires because you talk shit about Trey Lance. So be careful.
I mean, it's a possibility, but for him to be a reach, I can't really say he's a reach because we talked about you got to swing for the fences when you're going for your quarterback. I mean, so he could be a reach, but Mac Jones at 3 is a reach for me. But if he ends up being good, I mean, if you get Kirk Cousins out of him, that's still a pretty damn solid quarterback. Kirk Cousins had a solid career. But I don't want to go in there thinking I can get Kirk Cousins when I can get Josh Allen / Colin Kaepernick.
I also think Asante Samuel Jr. could be a first-round pick. Would be another probably overdraft. But I do think that I could see that. But to touch on your point real quick of defensive end, defensive tackle, not a healthy draft for it.
No,
it's really not. So you're going to see guys get overdrafted based off of that. You did touch on Micah Parsons, which the reasons Micah Parsons would draft is because he's not a Mike linebacker. He also has off-field concerns, whether you buy into the hazing or whatever, read up on it and then you make your own determination. But that could be a reason that he falls. And again, you can say Devin White and you can say whatnot. It's just overall, historically, where he plays at linebacker hasn't been a top 10 pick. So I can certainly see him falling out of the top 10.
Another kid who might get an overreach is a guy who was really a one-year wonder in college, and that's Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky. There's people talking about him first round now. Now, if you get him in a 3-4 and you know what you want out of him, I mean, he's got solid skill and coverage, but he's got all the athletic you want. He's aggressive. I mean, but he's got limited, he's fast. But when he plays, he looks unsure of himself because he had that 1 year. So maybe it's just not knowing that defense all the way. He's going to be a guy who has to kind of ease in, and then he'll be all right. Because you looked at linebacker last year, we all thought Patrick Queen was going to be great, and he was the worst ranked linebacker per PFF. But, I mean, Davis is a guy who, if you draft him top 20 and expect him to be a stud right away, you're not getting that. It's going to take him a little bit, but he's got skills.
Yeah, I agree. And you also have to – he's not going to be a day one starter, like you said, in my opinion. And if you plug him in, you're going to have to plug him into a system that has some competence defensively. I mean, he's not going to be a guy that you're going to be able to take and he's automatically going to make a huge difference for you defensively. But, hey, if he has time to try to get his feet wet, figure things out, I mean, the athletic ability's there, no doubt.
Absolutely. And as far as Asante Samuel Jr., I think Asante Samuel easily into the first round, and I think 26 overall to a certain football team that plays on the shores of Lake Erie could be the spot for him. But
yeah, I mean, it would just be too bad for a guy to go to a team where he's going to be hurt because your entire secondary is always hurt.
Walk in the secondary room and snap his ankle.
Yeah, I just don't want to put that shit on that guy. You know what I mean? Any DB y'all take, I'm just terrified of. I mean, you guys did pick up. I mean, in free agency, I'm okay with it. But it seems like you kind of ruin rookie, picks, injuries.
They take slender kids. Yeah. And I think Asante Samuel's got a thicker body than we're talking Greedy or Denzel. I mean, Denzel Ward has that, super skinny Tristan McKenzie type body. Where
he doesn't want to tackle.
I mean, he's got the body of a Twizzler. So, I mean, it's like that. But Asante Samuel, I think he's a very good corner. I think 4 corners go in the first round. I mean, Fairley's probably the most talented of the corners, in my opinion. He's got great size, but that back injury. I love Surtain, but Fairley, if you look at everything Fairley does, he is probably better. But he's got injury, just had a surgery, I believe a back surgery, if I remember correctly off the top of my head here, but it could be anything.
Does a DB go in the top 10?
DB in the top 10? If he does, it's J.C. Horn or Surtain at 9 to Denver if they don't go quarterback. See,
and I think that we talk about this. It's really going to go quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and tackle. I mean, you're going to see a shitload of quarterbacks. You're going to see Pitts off. You're going to see Chase off, and then Sewell's going to be off. In any order, and then you're already 7-8 picks into this thing.
Yep.
And then you still got Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. You still got people there, so it'll be interesting for sure. So especially because we know they're all flexing into people are going to get their quarterback. So we know 1, 2, 3's quarterback. We know Atlanta's pick's going to end up being quarterback, whether it's them or someone else.
Yeah. And the report came out today that Jarrah loves Kyle Pitts. Loves him some Kyle Pitts. They're sitting at 10. My last mock, I think I had him going there at 10. But it sounds like Miami is just head over heels in love with this kid, and they're going to let's put him and Jasicki together. run down the seam.
Pass blocking tight end in football.
They're not going to block at all. They're just going to let those guys run.
I mean, because ladies and gentlemen, they're in love with Kyle Pitts. Don't think he's some elite blocker because he's not. He may be, and he's not Mike Gesicki terrible, but he's not. I mean, again, he's kind of more of an outside. I mean, I think he's going to play all over in the NFL, but
he will.
But again, with the tight ends, he's not. He needs to develop as far as his blocking, especially his run blocking. He's kind of a guy that I've seen, at least from what I've watched, is not 100% into just getting down and getting dirty.
No, but you don't need that from him. You're not even going to worry about that. You put that kid in the red zone and you throw the ball within 100 feet of him, he's probably going to catch it. He's got that unbelievable wingspan and probably the most athletic tight end prospect we've seen since Vernon Davis.
Eric Ebron.
Yeah, Eric Ebron if he had hands. And do y'all like Horn or no? I love J.C. Horn. I think he's a hell of a corner. Depending on what your defense needs, Farley, Horn, Surtain could be the number one corner on your board. I mean, I'd take any of them sitting there. So, I'm good with any of them. You like J.C. Horn?
I do.
Awesome.
Don't love him. Don't love him. I don't love the corners in this draft at all. I mean, he could certainly be a serviceable player. Is there a corner here that jumps off the board to you, like we've seen in previous years? I mean, I know Jeff Okudah last year. Listen, bro, I ain't trying to get into it, but
Jeff Okudah would still be the number one corner.
He's still Jeff Okudah is still the best. Yeah, and Jeff Okudah he had a bad year, but yeah, there's nobody in this draft that is like, hey, this is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just to your point, you know, Horn could go, Surtain could go. There's multiple guys that could go first at corner, which kind of shows you the lack thereof of elite talent, at least on paper, moving into the draft.
And the crazy thing, if Farley does drop due to his injury, the top three corners, they're all sons of former NFL players. Surtain, Samuel, Horn.
Is that Joe Horn's kid?
Joe Horn's kid.
Oh, shit.
He got good because his dad made him cover him from birth.
I was
like, all right,
listen,
you want to eat, boy? You want supper? That's it. We're bringing it back to supper. You want supper? You got to cover me.
Joe Horn was a fun player. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a flip phone by me, unfortunately.
If you're too young, go check out that film in New Orleans, bro. That's good stuff.
If I had a second screen brought up, I would have definitely done that. But, bro, let's get out of here tonight. You got another show to do. You got some golf to go check out. Check out Drew on the Hammerjacks Network later tonight. At Detroit Dave 7 on Twitter. Follow me at Somerville CLE. This is the Full Coverage Football Show. We return next week for our quarterback roundtable. Hopefully the three guys I got lined up. I know one is guaranteed. The other is a possibility, but it's going to be weird because he's going to be a call-in due to his dial-up internet. Or did I say due to his dial-up internet, or did I just slur my whole way through it? But you know what I mean. Anyway, that's all we got for tonight. Check us out next week. Follow us on Twitter. Hit up linktr.ee/FCFS pod if you really want to get all of our info, anything there. Check out me Monday, fcfspod.substack.com. Follow us, subscribe, do all that stuff. Have a fun time. And remember, as always, my cat gets in the camera. Let's say hi, Cat. Cat's going to walk on. What's up?
Cat loves Jordan Spieth this weekend.
Your cat loves Jordan Spieth, huh?
Yeah.
All right. With that, remember, as always, if you live the life you love the life you live. Good night, kids.